So the Gary Neville podcast, where I have to listen to, is it 3 or 4,000 Liverpool fans that are being kept behind in that far corner, sing deliriously about winning the league.
Yeah,
This is what my post-football career has come to. I've had to watch Blues win titles, now I have to watch them.
And have they won it?
They haven't won it, obviously, but they have. Yeah, I think in years gone by, last 2 or 3 years, I've sort of got involved sometimes in debates, maybe with other people around, that Arsenal didn't need to come here and win. You do. You do have to come here and win. And I think I always felt that. I mean, maybe it didn't always happen when I played, but to really make a statement when you're trying to take a title off someone, when you're trying to really ram it home that you are worthy title winners, you need to go and do something different. And I think what they've done here today, Liverpool, is not just go 11 points clear, which puts them in an incredible position, but psychologically, you feel unbeatable after a game like today. And those Liverpool players in that dressing room, there'll be such a warmth, such a feeling of togetherness and spirit. Not just the togetherness out on the pitch that we saw, but the spirit when they get into that dressing room now will be electric. They'll feel it, and they'll just need to, I'm sure there'll be some sort of sensible voices, the coaches, the manager, Van Dijk, maybe Salah, the job's not done, you constantly have to tell yourself that and guard against complacency. But there's a couple in there and a few in there who've won titles before. I'm sure Robertson and the others, Alisson, the ones who've been there and seen it and done it, will just be warning the others, look, don't get carried away. But they'll be saying don't get carried away, but with goosebumps and a feeling of such excitement of knowing where they're at. They've got 7 home games left in 11. They're brilliant at Anfield anyway. It's such an exciting period for them to look forward to. So, look, I don't think they'll get complacent. Injuries are a factor, and sometimes the crazy things can happen in terms of things like the Carabao Cup final and the Champions League run, and you can get caught up in a sort of a rut sometimes if you get in that period of the season. But for that to happen, you need a team behind you who are looking like they're going to put pressure on you and be on your shoulder. And I think what happened yesterday with Arsenal was quite significant. You feel like this morning you wake up and if you're a Liverpool player, you're thinking, not that you've got a free hit, but actually this is it. You know what I mean? They're losing to West Ham at home. Well done to West Ham, but that's a game that Arsenal have to win. They have to go to 5 points. They must. And I said a few weeks ago, all Arsenal can do is make sure they're waiting there if Liverpool slip up. But they're not. They're not there. Liverpool can slip up twice, 3 times. And Arsenal have to win every single match, so it's getting more and more difficult by the week. So today, I think, a very significant day. It's a massive day in this Premier League title, and I think when you win away from home like they have done here at Manchester City, I know City have obviously slipped this last few months, but it's a big moment.
What struck me about Liverpool, you said that they must feel down there now as if they're invincible, they can beat anyone. They played this game, it struck me, as though they believed that before this game began. They weren't in any sense feeling jeopardy. You never felt that they were threatened by Manchester City today, albeit that City had an awful lot of the ball.
No, I related. I've watched Manchester City win titles over the last 5-6 years, and I've not been able to relate to the football that they play and with the way in which they win games and the way in which they win titles, and that's how spectacular City have been, because it's something that we've not seen before, that going for 100 points and dominating possession at 75%. When you go away from home as a title winner, I always viewed it as being something of a struggle in the first 25 minutes. But you might grab a goal, it might settle you down. Then you might start playing a bit of football and score a second. And then you might sit behind the ball and not have the ball for the next 45 minutes, which is what Liverpool have done. So I could relate so much to what I've seen today out on the pitch. And that's why I've got admiration for Arne Slot and Liverpool. And I'm so happy that this idea that you have to keep 70% possession. We must have a philosophy of play. You can't play deep and counter-attack. Liverpool have played so many different styles of play today. They're so direct at times from back to front from Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They play long passes forward. Then sometimes they play out from the back. There was once in the first half they played an amazing move from that far corner all the way up to the other end of the pitch, so they can play subtle football as well. Then there's times where they play without the ball for large parts of it, and they're just sat in there really together, compact, deep, in an old-fashioned, what you would call Mourinho masterclass style sort of way. And then they defend set pieces well. They put their head on it, the Canate and Van Dijk, the centre-back. So all the different aspects of the game that you need, I've seen in this one performance today from Liverpool, and I can relate to it. So it was very, very good. They were so dominant, even though City may have had 68, 70% possession. I don't know what it ended up at in the 95th minute, but it was such an impressive display. One that I think really, yeah, they were together, and whatever the game needed at the point that it needed it, they would have delivered that. And I think if City had gone and got a goal, I think Liverpool had gone up a gear and gone and got a third. You know what I mean? That's the type of performance it was. They were so much in control of Manchester City. They were never in doubt today.
And sorry to ask this question because it's so hard to come up with a different answer, but Mo Salah. I mean, you know, he's playing his own game, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
He's just brilliant.
Sometimes you're watching something that's like, look, he's been class for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years now, how long he's been at Liverpool. But when I watch him at the moment, it's unplayable, and psychologically he's in the head of the opponent that he's up against. That when you play against someone that you think, well, I'm going to smash him, I'm going to knock him, I'm going to drive, I'm going to go through him. You can't. He's like a brick wall. I mean, that ball gets played up to him from 40, 50 yards away from Alisson into his chest, and he's holding Gvardiol off, who's 6'3", like he's a little boy. And he's been doing that all season, and I've not maybe seen that in the past. I know he's always been strong, and he's always got a great sort of low centre of gravity, and he's got strength at length. I used to say sometimes players you play against as a fullback, you used to think that what they would do as a winger, they're quite slight. I mean, Salah's not, but he probably is compared to Gvardiol. And he puts his arm out, you think, I can't even move. And that's what Salah is at this moment in time. And then when the ball gets pinged over from Van Dijk in the second half to about 80-yard pass, and you just know he's going to bring it down instantly on a sixpence, and everything's so polished and so perfect and so slow. And when I say slow, I mean being in the final third is the most frantic place on a football pitch. But everything just feels so composed and slow motion when he's on the ball. You know he's going to play the pass at the right moment. You know it's going to be the right weight of pass. You know he's going to play the right cross. You know that he's going to be efficient in his shooting. He's absolutely at the top of his game. He's a different level than anything else in the league this season in terms of his performance levels, and he's world class. Obviously, I'm not going to bring up his contract, but I am going to bring up his contract. I mean, Liverpool obviously will be desperate to try and keep him, but he's one of the very best players that the Premier League has seen. He's, I mean, that's 11 games this season, I think, that he's had a goal and assist in each game, which was fed into us when he scored. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And
that is, as I said in the game, 5 30-goal seasons. Yeah, just 8 for Liverpool.
Yeah, just one more thing on it. When you're I mean, Van Dijk's special, and so I think Alisson's a great goalkeeper, and they've got other good players in the team. But I always think that when you're a player that sat there, back there in your shape for 90 minutes, and Van Dijk and Konate did it really well today, you always have to be most grateful for the player who goes and wins you the match, because that's the most difficult thing to do and the most special thing. And that's what Salah has gone and done. When I used to look back in my career, particularly my first title season, and Cantona scored single goals, and you just thought, that's the difference player, the player who just delivers at the most challenging moment, at the crux of the season, where the title's on the line, where you're playing against the best teams. Who's going to stand up and win you the match? And that's what Salah is for Liverpool. He just, today, the goal he scores, the assist for the second, honestly, that is what you want from world class. That's what world class looks like, that they turn up in the biggest moments, and he's done that here at City today.
And so, in fairness, on the subject of difference makers, how different might that game have been with Haaland?
I think it'd have been different if Arsenal had won yesterday, psychologically for Liverpool, and I think it'd have been different for Liverpool as they go into the sort of dressing room and see that Haaland is playing. They're thinking, right, okay, Haaland and Mamouche up front, that's a hell of a front two. And that's the one thing that gave me a little bit of doubt about whether Liverpool would win here today, was that front two for City, being fed from the likes of De Bruyne and Foden, thinking, they're a handful, that front two. They could cause problems. Liverpool like to push up. Mamouche can run in behind. Haaland's obviously got a presence in the air, so if there's a ball comes into the box, he can get across you. And when Haaland's not on the team sheet before the game, I think we said it, didn't we, 5 minutes before the start of the game, we're thinking it'd be very difficult for City to win this match, and very hard not to see Liverpool winning. I mean, that's not rewriting history, it's what we said to each other. And that's the impact it will have had in that Liverpool dressing room. That's it's the most important thing you can say, is that it will have given Liverpool a real lift, and particularly the centre-backs for Liverpool, who've handled Haaland well at times, but still, to have him out there, he's a huge threat.
And in fairness to City, we'll move on to Arsenal in a second and say much the same thing possibly, but as City become outgoing champions, are they entitled to say, listen, we've played most of this season without Rodri, Haaland's missing at a key moment, today they played without senior centre-halves as well, without Stones, without Diaz for most of the game. I don't know what I'm asking you really, apart from whether a full-strength City side throughout the course of this season would still have been competitive with Liverpool at the top end.
It would be. Yeah, I think it would be. But, look, I think City have, I said it in commentary, they've run a million miles, this team. They've got enough credit in the bank, the manager and the players. We're not questioning their work ethic. We're not questioning their attitude. We're not saying that they're all finished. We're just saying that it was always going to come to a point whereby when they've done what they've done over the last few years, winning as many titles as they won and cups as they won and trebles, they were always going to hit a brick wall, and they just hit a brick wall. The club's hit a brick wall, the managers hit a brick wall, the players have hit a brick wall. They look tired, and honestly, I'm surprised they've been able to maintain it for so long. So there's no massive big criticism. I think we're all been shocked about how far the drop and the decline has been. That's the one shock. I thought that they might not win the title 1 or 2 seasons. I mean, it's incredible what they've done, but I didn't think it would be as messy as this. It has got quite scruffy, but look, I think, like I say, they've got enough credit in the bank as far as I'm concerned. The manager has been out of this world for not just the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years at City or wherever he's been before. He's been special, and he's been special to this league. So, no, I think City have got a job to do. Pep Guardiola looks like he's committed. He looks like he needs to, he looks like he wants to reconstruct and rebuild this team. And you're right, they would have been better if they'd had Rodri and other players. That was a big loss for them. But maybe it was just too much for them anyway. Maybe this was the point where it just, a step too far.
So what about Arsenal then? You saw, I think, the bulk of their game yesterday, and of course, they've been unfortunate, they would say, that they've got their top 4 would-be strikers all missing at the same time, just when they really need one. And surely that's a fair defence?
It's a defence, but then you've got to plan for it. I know they didn't want to do business in the January transfer window. They thought they were just maybe... There wasn't quite the sort of value in the market, or they couldn't get the player that would come in and impact them, but they have left themselves short. There's no doubt about that. And they've fallen short. And even without players that you've mentioned, they still have to do that job yesterday. I think the last 2 seasons they've gone very close, and I have a lot of admiration for them. I felt like you're getting close. This season's more of a problem for them than the last 2. Because when City weren't going to be there, the team that had to be there were Arsenal, in my mind, because of their growth and how close they were getting. And it's not going to be them, it doesn't look like. And that's the big shock and surprise. And I think that'll be the one that'll hit hardest in that Arsenal boardroom, and with Mikel Arteta and the dressing room and the players, because they're desperate to win a title there. And they felt like they were inching nearer. So it's a blow. And yesterday, look, it can happen. It can happen, and they might say Liverpool are doing well, but Liverpool have dropped points in this last 8 games. Liverpool have drawn 2 in the last 3. They've drawn 4 in the last 8. Arsenal have had a chance to get back closer. They could have gone within 5 points today. Yesterday, sorry. So it's a big blow, a really big blow, and it will start. Questions will start to be asked, because a little bit like when, say, that Leicester season, and a couple of other teams didn't win it. You start to ask questions of those teams, say, well, hang on a minute, Leicester went and won it. It's that type of season where you think it was up for grabs. And Arne Slot's come in, new manager, Klopp's left. Not on my own, but certainly I felt that there would be a drop-off at Liverpool, just the sort of Klopp impact and the effect. But he's been such a cool customer, Arne Slot, from day one. In complete control. And the way in which I think he's adapted this team, I don't think it's a mirror of Klopp at all. I think they're very different. I just like the way in which, I've said that earlier on in the season, I like the way they play in different styles within halves of the games, let alone within sort of games itself from game to game. So I think for Arsenal, they've become quite rigid. They've become quite turgid at times to watch. I think they've become difficult in this obsession. I think that a few weeks ago I felt like it was like an obsession with set pieces, which was almost overtaking the whole game, exacerbated by the fact that there's presence of the set piece coach on the touchline, and it's like puts more focus on set pieces. And it's like, no, I feel like the freedom's gone a little bit from them. And I know that they've lost Saka, and I know that they've lost Jesus, and I know they've lost Havertz, which are big blows. I mean, let's be clear, that is a big problem for Arsenal. But I still think you've got to do that job yesterday against West Ham at home.
So Arsenal lost, City lost, and half the league, Gary, half the league thinks it can be in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Right down to Brighton, maybe Fulham if you squeeze it a bit,
Yeah.
you know, within a reasonable range of points. I know you've been enjoying Villa recently, and of course they had
I like Villa.
a big win yesterday.
Yeah, I like
so
Villa.
how are you reading that for the sort of minor placings, which are quite major, by the way?
I said a few weeks ago, actually, I think I fancied Villa to get into the top 4 just because of Unai Emery. They're still in competitions, but I just feel like their options up front now with the fact that they've got Watkins, obviously, but then they've got Asensio, they've got Bailey, they've got Ramsey, they've got Rashford, they've got Rodgers. They've got 5 or 6 players there that you think, well, okay, 2 or 3 will play, and then obviously they'll have to sort of like, you know, they've got such options off the bench. They've left themselves in a good position. Defensively, they need to obviously just make sure that they can keep some players fit. But I think Villa could finish the season strong. I think Nottingham Forest have been absolutely amazing, the story of the season, but I think they'll find it hard to hang on. I hope they hang on.
Their next 2 are Arsenal and City, actually.
I know. I hope they hang on in there. But my feeling is it's going to be tough for them to hang on in there. I think City, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea might just, 12 games is a long way to go. We're just written off the title here with 11 points, but I still feel like it could be a long 12 games for Nottingham Forest, and I hope that they do stay there because I think that would be amazing for the Premier League. We need to see clubs that have been at the bottom one season getting up into the top 6 and into the top 4. That's what we need. The league needs it. We're worried about at the moment the fact that the 3 that come up seem like they go down quite a bit, and we don't want that sort of that familiarity and that sort of predictability in the league. We need it to be the most unpredictable league in the world. And so I think there's a long way to go. I think Chelsea, I'm 50-50. I think Newcastle, at the moment, I'm saying City, Newcastle and Villa in the top 5. But it could easily be Forest and Chelsea. I think it's really so close.
I just have to say, because you haven't mentioned them, and they did lose yesterday, but Bournemouth, of course, are part of that mix as well.
They've been amazing, yeah. But I don't think they'll get into that top 5 is my view. But, yeah, they've been absolutely incredible as well. They're worth mentioning in the same bracket as Nottingham Forest as being the team of the season so far, or the surprise of the season.
Sure. Well, it's gone quiet over there now.
Which means that they're now walking out the front, Peter, where we're about to walk. So it means we just have to stay here a little bit longer.
They're waiting to meet you, Gary. So that'll do us. Thank you very
Peter.
much.
Thanks
Take
very
care.
much.
Thank you.